الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا وسهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة من حلقات بودكاست ركن الحلبة. مقدما هذه الحلقة راح تكون مميزة لأن بشكل كامل راح تكون بالإنجليزي. إذا حابين أنكم تشوفون ترجمة راح تلقونها في قناتي أنا الشخصية أو في قناة ركن الحلبة عبر اليوتيوب. الرابط كلها راح تكون موجودة في الوصف. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode in the Ring Corner podcast. Starting, this episode will be fully in English because I kind of have a special guest on here. You may know him as Hart Editing. He's the booker for Pandemonium Wrestling.
My name's Hart Editing on Twitter. I'm here to promote the Shooting Star Fest and the show that I'm in charge of, which is the Pandemonium Presents Whatever Forever. We're in Las Vegas, April 15th, 3 p.m. It's going to be my second time booking a full show. I did help book most of the card last year in Vegas, but this is my first Vegas show with full hands, like my decision top to bottom.
I mean, before we start talking about Shooting Star Fest, you said that this is your second show that you ever like fully booked, right? So, what's the difference between booking like a full-on show or just booking a couple of matches? Because I think that's a huge difference.
Definitely just the pressure of it, you're kind of it's one thing when you get to brag about like, oh, I put together this CML match or this TJPW match, but when like start to finish the show is kind of in your hands, which I guess is kind of also still untrue because the last show we had was in Los Angeles and it was supposed to be a joint show, and we had the other company kind of like we kind of went our separate ways, so it ended up being our own show. But we kept most of his card on there because we liked a lot of the guys. So we had guys like Royce Isaacs, we had guys like Adrian Quest on the card, TMDK was on the card. So we kept them on, and I was kind of in charge of everything. It was my first time being the guy. The actual owner of the promotion actually had bronchitis, so he wasn't there either. So I was there from like start to finish.
Oh, so
But yeah, sorry. Circling back to answering your question, it's just this show is like from match 1 to match 10 or whatever. I guess now we have like 11. It's something I've put together and trying to figure out in a sense it's easier only because I know that I built the matches, so it's an easier time to kind of figure out what goes where, and there's no battle to be like I want this match second, first, whatever. And then you're kind of like working around these other matches. When I'm fully in charge, luckily I'm picking how much time everything's getting, which order it's going, are we doing an intermission, so it kind of works better with one person I think in charge, because I think one of the issues we ran into last year was we just all had different ideas, and like I'm still friends with everybody that ran. We had Robert Martyr who booked a lot of the card. So this year he's just on the card and he gets to actually wrestle because he took himself off the show last year so he could run it. And me and him kind of ran that show with Drexel doing a lot of the agenting and Chase James. So we kind of this time, around, I don't think we're necessarily going to have as many agents and stuff, and a lot of the production stuff is handled since we're part of a collective, so we don't have to do ring crew or anything like that. But it's just a lot of you're the guy, so like when you're at the show, if someone wants to know from this match is going over to where's the water, like everyone's coming to you, or in between matches, people wanting to get paid, so it's kind of you're the guy, so there's no one to save you.
I mean, yeah, that just puts a whole lot of pressure on you. I mean, since you said that you completely booked this card, right?
Yeah, from top to bottom.
I mean, you got Soberino Jr., you got Danny Orion, you got Robert Martyr, you got Shimbashi, you got Ryan Clancy. I mean, from a booker standpoint, how do you know which matches to book? Like, you could have booked Shimbashi versus Robert Martyr, or you could have had Shimbashi and Martyr in a tag team against Soberino Jr. and let's say Stephen Bradley. So, from a booker standpoint, you get the wrestlers. How do you know, who do you put against each other?
Sometimes there's just an obvious one, like when I see, Danny Orion, like he's wrestling these guys at West Coast Pro and killing it. He's faced Blackwood for the title. I just know he can handle that match. So a lot of times when it's a Soberano Jr., you go, okay, who's going to benefit the most from this match and who can also like match up to that level of quality? Because, Soberano Jr. is one of the best wrestlers in the world. You also look at personalities, I think Soberano and Danny are such good, like, they're kind of both like arrogant, but like in a very different way. So I think they're both going to get on each other's nerves and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. So that was kind of our when we were looking at who can kind of step up to Sobrano Jr. Funny enough, last year during Vegas, Sobrano Jr. was actually like the first CML talent we had reached out to. And he had gotten back to us and we tried to work it out and we got him and Templario. And we had actually announced Templario. And then it turned out he had to go to Japan. So he pulled out. And then Sobrano Jr. said he couldn't make it. But Sobrano Jr. actually vouched for Barbaro and was like pushing him. And I didn't know that much about him. So we got him on the card. And I just always thought that was so cool that he vouched for like another one of his friends. And so when it came down to this time, I was like, that's the guy we want to try to work out. And then it worked out. So it's him and Okamura. When we were looking at Okamura, you know, he's one of the best tag wrestlers of all time. Obviously, is a little bit older. He had asked us because he said he's never been invited to WrestleMania weekend before, and he's been so great with us. So we wanted to like kind of do that for him on top of just being able to say we had him on our card. So we are looking at like a cool tag. Martyr's one of the smartest like wrestlers I've ever seen in ring. The way he puts together his matches and the way he like can just thinks about them. I really thought it would be cool to have him like be able to collaborate with like a legend like Okamura and work together on that match. So, I was looking at like who's the best people to go against him. Harman Singh is like one of the like most locked in wrestlers I've ever seen. Like he knows everybody, he watches everything. So he was excited for this. And then Clancy was just someone that Robert had so much history with that I was like, in if all else fails, they can go for 5 minutes, and just kill it, Like I don't think they could carry a match by themselves, Not that I think it's necessary, but I just thought they were such good opponents and they've wrestled so many times and went to Marvelous together. That match just made sense to me. So
I mean, I get it. Putting Okamura and and Marshall in a tag team. I mean, I'm gonna mark the fuck out in this episode because I mean, putting them in a tag team sounds insane, insane.
oh, Martyr will definitely listen to this podcast if I tell him to, because he genuinely like that dude listen like he tried to absorb everything in. So I'm seeing him in 2 weeks. He's up here in Portland. He's actually facing Amira, which is really cool.
I think he faced Amira in before, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, that was Lisa Hall. I mean, Marta is
Yeah,
very good
yeah,
in. Yeah, Marta is very good in
yeah. That was that was
intergender wrestling.
funny enough. That was at Parm's. Dusk is owned by Parm, so
Mm.
that was part of the reason for this match too, is because Parm saw Martyr wrestle and was like on his own show and was like, I want to wrestle that guy.
Oh, I mean, the thought again, the thought of I mean, I haven't seen Palm wrestle before, but I've heard great things about him. So I
Mhm.
mean, just like you said, I mean, I think the most match that I'm excited for in your show, I think it's the tag match between
Oh,
Akamaru
really?
and
That's
Par. Yeah, it's
Okamura would be very happy to hear that. He's a very honest guy. Like he's so nice and cool. Like, but he told me he's like I don't know how fans will receive me and stuff. So I was just like, listen. Like, what I've kind of realized is, especially because we're running Wednesday, right? And last year we
mm,
ran Thursday.
mm,
Is by Friday night, most people will have forgotten about your show as far as like critical stuff, like critically acclaimed matches. So most of the time, people we're looking at it, it's like we want to have good matches that people will come away from the show being happy. But then when they're thinking about the week going down the list, they're like, I saw this person, this person, this person. And
mm.
as long as it's not a bad match that they have a bad taste in their mouth for it, if it's a good match, they're like, oh yeah, we saw Okamura in Vegas, he was awesome, or we saw Martyr in Vegas, he was awesome. Like that's kind of the goal that I'm trying to get, and that's part of why I've loaded the show up with so many people. Plenty of people make fun of me for having an overloaded show because some people do 8 matches, 9 matches. I'm not a big fan of every match going 15 or 20 minutes. That's just always been my thing, even as a fan. So I'd rather have 10 matches, 11 matches that most of them are going 10.
I mean, yeah. Since you talked about like shows having shorter matches, I mean, I haven't been to many indie shows. I mean, the region here doesn't have that many indie promotions, but the ones that I've been to, as a fan, it's a better experience to have a fun show that has like 8 to 10 minute matches with I think a long couple of main events, like the main event and the match before that. I think it's more fun than having like 15-minute matches going on all the show. Uh,
Yeah, like
that's more fun
there's
for the
definitely
fans.
room for it. Like if I'm going to like a Stardom show, I'd rather there be 6 matches and them all be good and like you feel like you got your money's worth. And then do the meet and greet or whatever after. But when I go to like an indie show, like especially during Vegas, it's a Wednesday night and there's a bunch of people on the card that I know that people don't know, and that's part of why I put them on the card. So we
Mm.
have people that I watch up here in the Pacific Northwest, like we have Spencer Scott and we have Stephen Bradley. I know a lot of fans don't know who those guys are, so I want to give them like the best amount of like time to quickly like to showcase themselves and show what they can do, and kind of go from there. So Spencer Scott is one of the most talented people I know, and he's been part of a tag team for a really long time. He just had a a big spot in the last Roseland ever. So I want to be able to be like he's on this card with all these big names and a lot of new eyes are watching. So he can kind of showcase himself and what he can do.
And again, putting names that aren't very known in cards are always exciting for me, like from a fan standpoint, because I think
Hmm.
that the last show that Action ran with Sugunda Kaida, I was excited for it because I didn't know half of the guys on the show. I'm an indie guy, and I didn't know half of them, so that's why I was excited for
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
when I first started going to these indie shows, first show I ever went to in 2019 was this show called POW Pro Wrestling, which Brian Zane helps run. He's like the YouTube championship, he we started going to shows 2019, and then there was this random tag team on. There was a 3-on-3 with a now regrettable wrestler that was on the card. But there was these two guys in this match, and me and my brother had never been to an indie show. We didn't. I knew plenty about like general like the indies, like Ring of Honor type stuff and PWG and stuff, but nothing like these like random indies across America. And there's these guys, and they were called like 7 minutes of heat or something, and they were so good and so funny, and like they were able to like have a really good match but also like be so funny during these matches that I was like, these guys are awesome. And then they changed their name and now they're the Midnight Heat. And so my first show that I'm running as like the full person, I get in my show putting the tag titles on them versus these people that they've been kind of in the same area for a long time and never wrestled. And so that's like such an honor to me to be able to be like return that favor of like they got me really hooked on indie wrestling and then I was able to put my tag titles on them.
I mean, so let's get back to Shooting Starfest.
Yeah.
Is booking a show in a collective, let's say, or like with a group, any different than booking a show like all alone, like stand alone?
Yes. So the biggest thing that's nice is you don't have to, when you get a venue, you have to pay for like 7 or 8 hours because you have to do like bringing the ring in and then everyone going through their stuff and then taking the ring down and cleaning and making sure you're out there at the right time. This is just kind of get in and get out. So production is included with what we bought. Um, we kind of get to go in there, put our show on, and then we get to leave. So I'm gonna stay around because we have a show running right after us called Unapologetic. They just got announced. They have some really cool stuff on their card. You're gonna be blown away by their card too. So I'm gonna be helping them out with them, but it's kind of nice because there's just a lot less pressure of like sticking around for 3 hours or 2 hours after your show. Now the downside of that is you don't have any room for margin of error as far as times go because the moment your show's done, you're immediately cutting into someone else's time. So we want to make sure that we're at our full time limit. Whereas like we you book a when your own show in your own venue, you can have like 2 or 3 hours after to tear down your ring. You get that done in an hour and a half. So there's a little bit of room for like going over, or you pay a fee for going over. But for this, it's like you're directly affecting someone else's show when it's done, and so that's like a little daunting of a thought, to be like I don't. It's one thing when I screw up, but I don't want my screw up to affect other people negatively.
I mean, yeah, yeah, I get it because most people think that bookers only like book the matches. They don't think they do any management stuff. So it's great
Yeah,
that you
it's a
provide that.
mix, especially places that have like a bigger team. Like plenty of people have agents. They have people who do time, kind of in charge of that stuff. So like we've had a couple people referred to us that are like more like showrunners, which I definitely could learn from. So I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I really do want to learn. And I think a collective with all my friends on it in Vegas is probably the best environment I could possibly get. Obviously it's high stakes, but um, I'm not having to learn all this like ring setup, production type stuff. So I just want to be able to be like fully immersed in like show running and making sure we're putting our matches together and the time in between. Because when you're putting, you give everyone, you go, okay, this person has 12 minutes, 13 minutes, and then you're like, oh well, there's 2 minutes between the matches, so when people leave, and so there's bell to bell time, and there's curtain to curtain time, and then there's the time in between the curtains, like the two matches, so is that 2 or 3 minutes. You times that by 10, you're like, oh shit, that's 20 minutes, and I didn't account for that time. So stuff like that is stuff I learned. I learned at the last show that I didn't think about having like a person to close the ring curtain, you know? So one of the wrestlers gave me advice on that. Was like, you need to have someone that makes sure that the curtain closes behind them when they go out, so there's not like a shot of the next wrestler like behind the camera or behind the curtain. And I was like, yeah, I hadn't even considered that. So that was really good advice.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, like, you knew
Yeah.
that you were gonna book the show, right? So, how do you know which wrestlers to get? And especially like, I want to focus on Sabrina Junior since he's technically like the biggest name on the card, I think. So,
Yeah.
since he's the biggest name on the card, like, how did you contact him? Uh, you know what I mean? Like, how did you
Yeah,
book
yeah.
him?
So through him, it was, you know, I knew someone mutual, so we sent a message on Instagram. He took forever to read it. Reached out a friend. I was like, hey, can you let him know that we messaged him? And that, again, this was April of last year, so he was one of, or this was like January of last year. So he was one of the first people we were looking for Vegas. And then that just it kind of just changed. So when we went around to this again, now that I have a contact with CMLO directly, I can be like, you know, we just had Zoo 6 in LA, and that's like, you just message them and say, hey, we're wondering if Zoo 6 is available for this show. Same thing. We're like, hey, is Sobrano Jr. available for April 15th? We need to know his price and what he needs. You know, like, does he have preferred flights, anything like that? And you kind of go from there. So we had him locked in. Funny enough, when not only is this show booked by me, but this is actually fully my idea. So we ran LA, and we were going to wait like 4 months to run another show. We had this opportunity to do this venue on Saturday. We talked with them, and then my friend who runs Pride Style was like, you know, let's try to figure out a way we can get you on this collective, whatever. So we get on there. We were on Wednesday night. So then we had like a full card book for Saturday, and we were running against Effie's Big Gay Brunch. So there's a bunch of people that I didn't book because I thought they were on that show, like Mad Dog. And then we get to Wednesday and a bunch of people are available, but now my card's like basically full. So we switched over to Wednesday and lost some of the people. So a bunch of the girls that were on our card are on Pandemonium, same time as us. So you just kind of like get these talents together. I have it lucky because I just have a bunch of friends that I know through like media and when I used to do like interviews for Body Slam, and then just people I've met. So when I'm looking at this card, I'm like, okay, we got Sobrano Jr. confirmed. We got Okamura confirmed. We got Namba was like the second person we ever booked, Sarah Namba, for the former ring announcer for TJPW, because she's just my friend. So I was like, hey, are you going to be in Vegas? Blah, blah, blah. We get her booked. So it was like Sobrano Jr., Okamura, and Sayuri Namba were like the first three people we had on the card. And then you start looking at indie talent, my friends, Robert Martyr, you know, who's coming to Vegas, who's going to be here, start reaching out. Started going down a list of people who reached out last year that we didn't have room for. So that's how we got people like Frankie B on the card, Dulce Tormenta, and just kind of just building from there. And then you just see kind of what comes your way as far as people reaching out. Spiderfly, and just Mexa Boys. Like, we had Spiderfly on our pre-show last year. He was great. So I was like, let's get him back, his tag partner, and see who else reaches out. So it's kind of like a lot of building like a basic thing of it, and then just kind of seeing what comes your way a little bit.
You said that your friend contacted you about going on Shooting Star Fest. So how did that happen? You said that you were gonna book a show on Saturday. You were gonna go against Effie's show. So how
Yeah.
did we managing the show to Wednesday? Like, how was it? And when your friend contacted you, like, were you just completely in on going to a collective? Let's say.
No, actually, honestly, at first we were kind of opposed to it because we liked Saturday morning. We were only running against one show at that time. Now, obviously, lots of stuff have been announced, but at that time we were going against one show. It was right before Mania. A lot of people were available, so we had like this. And honestly, like, there's not a lot of cards running, so you have a little bit of like negotiating skills because you're like, there's no one that can deny your booking because they have a better option, you know, so you can kind of get a little bit of a better rate for people. Obviously, don't want people like working for free, but you can negotiate with the rate because, you know, it's the last show of the week or whatever, and people, you know, we kind of see how the rest of the field kind of played out throughout the week. So we liked Saturday. The difference was, and the guy who ran that venue was very nice, very cool. He basically just wanted people to, like, he wanted to make money off of drinks. So like his staff that he was using for it, like a valet and bathroom attendants and stuff, he was breaking even on all that stuff. Which, funny enough, he actually works for WWE on like a different position. He just happened to own this venue, and he was very nice. So we were talking about Saturday. all my friends were on this collective show with West Coast Pro, New Texas, Pride Style. I didn't really know action. The guy, I don't know the people who run Action, but I know one of the people who help with Anarchy. And so the Pride Style owner was like, we had been talking about the Saturday thing, and he's like, "Hey, I think I found a spot for you on the Wednesday night. If you're okay with it, it'll be the same price." But the biggest thing was that we didn't have to rent a ring because we don't own our own, which saves us like $1,000, and we get production. Whereas the other one, we were just gonna like we were either gonna not film at all or just film on like iPhones and upload it to YouTube. And this way we have like actual cameras and commentary set up and stuff. So it's about we're spending the same amount on the venue, but we're getting a lot more out of it. And then on top of that, I just will be able to have all these friends there that I trust and like. And Millhouse, who owns Pride Style, is like the most helpful person. He saved my ass last week in LA, and so to be able to have these people on the card is nice. And then there's obviously the big selling point of just being like, hey, we're now on this card with some of the biggest indie promotions in America, and we kind of, at least perception wise, can look somewhat similar to them, or and like an equal, when we have a lot of like catching up to do because we've only ran one show or two shows in the last like 4 years, 3 years, and then only one show in last year. So we had a lot of catching up to do. And then this just kind of made sense for us for multiple reasons. But I was just personally happy to be on a show that has a bunch of my friends around.
I mean, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, again, speaking from a fan standpoint, if I'm gonna watch like the action show, I'm definitely gonna check like the rest of the matches that are on the same like in the same group. The rest of
Yeah.
the shows that are in the same like collective. So yeah,
Yeah,
it
we're
helps a lot.
still trying to figure out if we can live stream it or not, because the shows last year were at this venue, so like New Texas, they tried to live stream it, and I I stood out in the cold trying to set up a Starlink for them at like 10 o'clock at night, and we were trying to get it to work, and then like it dropped halfway through it. So we're trying to see if the internet's better because the venue made some upgrades, but otherwise we're just gonna film it and upload it at another time.
So, I mean, wait, before I move on the next point that I have, I just want to say that if Martyr ever listens to this episode, I just want him to know that I'm a big fan, and just give me 5 years. So, in wrestling training, I'm gonna come and beat his ass one day if he's not on TV
Oh
because
hell yeah, yeah.
he's great. So, anyways,
At the
uh,
very least, I'm gonna clip this part out and send it to him because he's awesome. I listen, like I said, I owe a bunch to him. So
yeah, yeah, he's awesome. I mean, I've I know some friends in action and prestige. I mean, all the stories I heard about him, he's great. He's great. I mean, before,
absolutely.
okay, let's stop talking about the show since I'm a big Marta fan. If you have any funny stories about Marta, you can just drop them here if you want to.
Oh, I mean, honestly, like even Vegas last year, the owner got stuck in traffic, so when the show started, we kind of all got promoted. So Robert ended up like running that show, like we went through times and everything like that. And just watching him kind of run around, and it was cool because like he was stressed out and he was like really self-conscious about like looking like an idiot. And I was just in awe about like how locked in he was and how impressive he was. And so that was my thing, is like that was the most like impressed with him at that I've been. He watched me. I didn't know that in Canada, if you get an egg McMuffin, it's just egg and cheese from McDonald's. And he watched me open it and have the biggest disappointment in my face, and he made fun of me so much for it, and I was like devastated. So that was a good time too. I've gotten to hang out with him a couple different times, like Vegas, and we hung out in Vancouver back in November for Dusk. But um, the best thing is whenever we disagree with a wrestler and he like can't believe that I don't like a wrestler he likes. He wants to know the exact reason and like get down to like the details, and then just to tell me that I'm wrong.
I mean, nerds make the best wrestlers. Anyways,
100%, yeah. Sometimes the worst wrestlers.
I mean, sometimes, but still, I mean,
It's
usually,
one or the other. There's no in between. It's either the worst wrestler or the best wrestler.
I mean, Martin McCauley. Anyways, so Shooting Star Fest. What do you think about like having multiple like groups running Mania weekend at the same time? Not just multiple promotions or multiple shows, but no, like actual multiple groups, because we have Shooting Star Fest and we have a couple of other groups. So, I mean, how does it feel like having an alternative? I mean, from a booker standpoint, not from a fan
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are always looking for like stuff they want to do. So, there's people that go to WrestleMania weekend and they just do the GCW collective. and they're always happy. You know, that's why those shows do so well. Um, and then there's some people who GCW is usually like decently far away from a lot of other stuff. So I went to a bunch of their shows in Philadelphia 2 years ago, and then I went to a couple of their shows last year. And both times their venues were a little far away from like where a lot of the other stuff is going on. So sometimes people just want to be able to go to a more centralized location, and so to not have to like bounce around to all these places to see a West Coast Pro or you know, like last year it was West Coast Pro and Prestige and Marvelous, and most people stayed on Fremont Street and got to walk down there, and it was super easy. And then, you know, our show was 11 o'clock on that Thursday, and then right after it was West Coast Pro, so people walked down to West Coast Pro right after our show. We're fine. So sometimes it's just like convenience of like spacing. Some people are just like morally and pros to GCW and WWE stuff, and they just want another option. FSW is running a bunch of their shows. I'm not a big fan personally of a lot of the companies they work with. So you know, sometimes it's a convenient spot for people like both like morally, location wise, or just interest, you know, if they just like what Action has to offer, if they just like Mad Dog, well, hey, Mad Dog's going to be at a lot of these shows, so you don't have to leave the location or the area just to go watch another match of his. So it's kind of nice just to be able to stay kind of in that same area. And it does feel, I think, even just speaking as a fan, because this is how I felt like in Philadelphia, is sometimes it just feels nice to put your dollar towards something that like is when you know the entire idea of the event is for you as opposed to making money off of you. And that's not to say GCW is doing that, because like I said, they have their own fans. But sometimes people just feel like more of a connection with this company that they want to support, and to be able to do that, I think is beneficial. So
I mean, yeah, I get it because like some fans, they don't promotions that work with big companies. And by big companies, I mean like any company for the big three in North America. S-
that's a big one right now, especially because like if you look, I think the GCW Collective ran that WWE ID tournament last year, and then or the showcase, and then FSW I think is doing it this year. So this is just like objectively true. We're the collective that's not doing any WWE stuff. That wasn't, I don't think, necessarily a conscious decision. It's just what we had to offer. So some people just want to support us because it's not anything WWE associated, which I respect and stuff. You know, I'm not necessarily one of those people, but I do completely understand the reasoning for it.
I mean, I'm not trying to shoot here, but the ID show was annoying. I mean, I didn't like skip the whole collective. I just skipped that ID show because like I'm not the biggest GCW fan, but I like the dumb shit that they do. I mean, I love
Oh yeah,
the Clusterfuck Rumble. I love it.
yeah. I missed that one last year. I'll tell you something really funny. Last year, so I landed on Wednesday. Our show was Thursday. When I landed, I got told that Barbaro was landing, so I was like, I'll just wait for him. And then me and him got lunch, and I was talking with my other friend who had met up with us about the Dragon Gate show. And Bar was like, Dragon Gate, and I was like, yeah. And he goes, can I come? And I was like, yeah, sure. So then I got to go to we went to Dragon Gate. It was like 8 o'clock at the same venue, and it was right after the WWE ID thing. And everybody that was leaving there were like, that sucked. That was messy. Like, I don't know if it was just the quality or it was just awkward and like the timing and stuff, but there's a bunch of stuff I heard about it, right? So the venues was really nice. It's just a little spaced out, so I think that was part of it too. So I got to walk in there with all these people bummed, and I'm walking around with a CMLL wrestler, just hanging out. And then I got to go walk in, and the Dragon Gate show was incredible. It was such a good time. And Babar was like watching like one of the best wrestlers in the world geek out about like all these indie guys that I know and asking me about them was like a really cool experience. So walking in, being told like it was their least favorite show of the weekend or whatever, or you know what they expected it to be the least favorite show of the weekend, and then I get to go in there and have like the most wonderful time of my life was just like a really funny drastic difference for me.
I mean that sounds hell fun. So let's go back to like you said, like distance between venues. So uh, s- are you gonna stay for like the rest of the shows on Shooting Star Fest? I mean, we're talking about like we're talking about a bunch of stacked shows. We're talking about like Unapologetic. You mentioned them. They just got announced. New Texas Pro, St. Louis Anarchy, West Coast Pro, Marvelous, which I'm very
Big
looking
time,
forward
Pride
to.
Style,
A couple of Price
Action.
Style shows actually. So
Yes, yeah, they have a second one at the Strat. Yeah,
you're staying for them, or you're going to like other shows, not on Shooting Star Fest.
yeah, I'll mostly be staying around for these shows. just offering like any help I can. Obviously, I also just want to see them as like a fan. Um, but yeah, so I'm mostly gonna stick around to it. I was debating on not seeing the Anarchy show so I could go see CMLL. I'm still kind of deciding with that because really the difference is one's free and a bunch of people I like versus a once in a lifetime opportunity to see CMLL. But so I'm still like that idea is still kind of messing with me a little bit. But yeah, I plan on staying for going to Action. Darren Bankson was just announced, and he's one of my favorites. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna be there for that. The West Coast Pro Show looks incredible. We have my friend Miko versus Aja Kong is so cool. And so there's just a lot of like really really good stuff. So like even just as a fan, I just want to be there for it. Um, but then also like I said, location wise, like I'm lucky this year. My friend moved to Vegas, so I get to stay there, and I'm super close to the area. Um, but a lot of these like other hotels are pretty far away. The one they were at last year, like the Palms, that one's like crazy far away from everything else. So last year going between like that venue for TJPW and then back down here for the Meet Las Vegas and stuff was kind of exhausting and just expensive with Ubers and stuff. So this year I'm trying to save money and be a little more centralized because I think I looked at my thing last year. I spent like $400 on Ubers over the week.
That sounds insane. I mean,
You know what's really funny is I was literally at TJPW. This was the Friday show, and I get a text from My World who says, "Oh, I'm like co-main eventing. I'm in the second to last match." And I was like, "All right, we're heading out." So we like left TJPW and we're going over there, and I'm like, we're we get stuck in traffic, and I'm literally watching it on my phone, and my friends are like messaging me in the group chat like he's panicking, oh they're coming out or whatever. And so we finally get to the venue, and I literally like walked in as the bell rang, and then I got to watch Maya World and was Maya and Starlight Kid versus Azumi and Johnny Robbie or the other way around. But and then I just got to watch the whole match, and I was like so happy that I got to walk in right when it started.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a huge difference from like being like in the shows like as a fan and like watching them from far away. I mean, I live, I mean, a thousand miles away from Vegas, so I can just put on two screens and run both shows at the same time if two shows are running against each other. So like, I think that makes a huge difference. I mean, look, are any shows going like running against you in Wednesday?
Yeah, Mania, which is a very good
Mm.
show. A lot of really talented women's wrestling on there. They have Amira and Jocelyn on their card too. I worked with them about scheduling our time so that they can make it to our show. I helped them book Toga from TJPW with my connection, so that was really nice. So I'm a little bummed out because this is like the second time I'm missing his show, which is really unfortunate because I like a lot of the people on that show. But other than that, no, I don't really think there's much going on. There's like Dragon Gate after us. And then, like I said, I'm going to stay for Unapologetic. But as far as I know, I think we're the only one. There might be something for FSW, but I really don't know.
I mean, yeah, running Wednesday on a mini weekend, I think that's good because you don't have many shows running against you, but you do have some shows running against you. Is there any wrestlers that you wanted to get like on your show that won't be there because of like timing and scheduling?
Yeah, so Mad Dog is one because originally on Saturday he was working Effie, and then he doesn't get into the show. Or doesn't get into Vegas until late Wednesday. So we had when we originally booked Saturday, we had him, we had Landon Hale from East Coast. We had Emily J, who's awesome. She was on the card. We almost lost Alexis Littlefoot. That finally came together at the end, which I was happy about. So that kind of stuff. Yeah, we lost a lot of stuff when we moved over, and I felt really bad because like some of your friends lose bookings because they bought their tickets too early or their flights coming a little late. But Potter Mania just has so many talented people on it that I would have liked a lot of their people. I will say this is my tease because I've been teasing on Twitter. We do have another big women's wrestler who will be on our show that I haven't been able to announce yet, so I'm waiting for confirmation to be able to announce that.
Uh, I mean, I was gonna ask if you could give us a hint, but I won't pressure you.
It's Joshi. That's all I can say.
Okay, that sounds huge.
And I would like to clarify that it is not Sari because I did have a friend ask that and I was like I don't want to mislead people, but I did try to get her, but she's working what's his name show Future Dream or Fortune
Mm.
Dream. so she can't make it. But I did try, but it's not her.
I mean, if I could ask, like, when you were running on Saturday, who are you gonna book Mad Dog against? Like, okay, let's say hypothetically, you could get any wrestler that's coming on. Yeah, you have a card on Mania weekend that all the wrestlers that are coming on Mania weekend are available to be on. So you get Mad Dog. Who are you booking him against?
I was originally gonna do a rematch. When I first built this card, this is before I knew that Mad Dog was on Effie's show.
Mm.
We just ran Cody versus Mad Dog in LA, and I was gonna either do a rematch of that or just some bonkers like CMLL versus Mad Dog match. Something just like a big brawl match. So I hadn't picked like a outside of Cody, I hadn't picked like an actual name yet. It was just more of a hypothetical type. So him and Barbara would be the
Mm.
coolest thing in the world, I think.
Oh my god! I mean, the thought of that is just
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna start marking out. Backstage, who are your like favorite wrestlers to have?
Oh, just like people wise?
Yeah, I mean like good people
My
to have
world.
backstage.
My world's one of my best friends. We had her on LA as a big surprise. So she wrestled, she killed it. Her Miko and Jocelyn did such an awesome job. Jaya or it's either Jaya or Jahai. It's KJ. I don't really know. I've heard everyone say. I feel like I say it wrong no matter what. But Jahai Jewel for West Coast Pro. He's one of my favorites. Miko's one of my favorites. Parm, Martyr. Um, all my Pacific Northwest buddies. Like obviously I wanted to showcase them. But I would say like as far as like my actual friends that I trust like dear and true to my heart is like Martyr, Maya, Parm, and Jahai. And then Mad Dog's great too. We love
Mm.
Mad Dog. The co-owner, which is the main owner's like uncle. He had never seen Mad Dog before, and so LA was like a big waking up for him. He's like, I don't know who this crazy man is, but he is the coolest person I've ever seen. And I was like, yes, he is.
So, uh, okay, so, uh, you you had like I mean I think that you're on good terms with CMLL. I mean you technically could have had any wrestlers that you wanted to from CMLL that are coming to Vegas. So why did you book Sabrina specifically?
Like I said, we wanted him last year. He's just first of all, like he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Obviously his popularity is like crazy. He's so popular. That was a big one for us. Is like you don't really see him working a lot of random indies and stuff. Like we try to look at that too. Like we could have all these guys that like work a lot of these indies and stuff like that. But we wanted to try to do something that's like if you're in Vegas, this is like a true Vegas experience or true WrestleMania weekend where you're like Barbara last year, and Sobrano this year. Like, I wanted to get people that don't even. Barbara wrestles for MLW, but like Sobrano Jr. isn't doing like MLW or these random like indies in the Midwest or whatever. So we wanted to try to get something that's like a unique experience that really feels like people. Obviously was very recently just a fan, and I still kind of consider myself that. I have a foot in the door in the business, but I try to look at like what makes people feel like it was worth their $65-$70 that they spent. And if Sobrano Jr. is worth that price to them, like I would truly hope it is. And so that's kind of what I look at too, is like making sure that people have their money's worth as far as like a individual unique experience.
I mean, I was just about to ask you like about pricing. So, how do you know like what price to like make a ticket? I mean,
Oh, it's guessing. I mean, I ours are luckily like with the new initiative, which is the specific part of the Shooting Star Fest, that is New Texas, Pride Style, West Coast Pro, Anarchy, and uh,
action.
Action, right? Yeah, so they sold their tickets together. They were really like a really good deal. Um, like very good value for their money. They just want to put on a show that they want. Like that's for them. When we're looking at ours, like in LA, when we're just running like a regular standard show for us, it's we had $30 tickets that were full GA, like we didn't have for front row seats, and then we had like a buy one get one free deal for most of that time. So we try to make it as family friendly as possible. I'm a big believer in that. But when it comes to this, like, okay, we're bringing all these unique talents in. It's a 21 and over venue, so we're not having to worry about people having to pay $30 to $50 for their kids. So we kind of made it a little spendier this time, just so that we don't completely lose all of our money in Vegas. Uh, so this one's a little more expensive than we normally like. Portland, I feel like is pretty reasonably priced, especially when you look at some of these shows being $200 for tickets and these big shows being you know $70 for GA. I just wanted to be like, you can watch a CML wrestler, a TJPW announcer. We just announced a DDT wrestler. Like, you can see all of that for $65 plus tax. That was really what I was hoping for. I
Mm.
believe very heavily in getting value out of your money. So I don't necessarily like look at just the price by itself. I just think like what financially like makes sense for us, but isn't like greedy.
I mean, is that like usually a big problem, and like having to pay for shows and being afraid that your show, like if you put like, let's say, cheap tickets on it, and you feel like okay, so let's say that, and like not on a Vegas show, like on a regular show, is it a problem for in pricing to put the pricing of the tickets you feel like it's too much for the show, or like it's too little for the show, and like the fans are not getting their money's worth?
Yeah, I think you don't want to make a show like so expensive that you're pricing out families. That's a big thing, right? You want to be able to make sure that people with their like a husband, a wife, and two kids, or whatever combination of people, four people or whatever, can reasonably come to your show without having to spend $300. Like, so whether that's like making standard adult tickets and then you give like a big discount for kids, like 12 and unders, $7, whatever. I'm a big believer in stuff like that. But yeah, like it's just about trying to get it like it's beneficial for you as a promoter to make sure that your crowd looks full. But you also don't want to like lose a bunch of money on your show. So it is definitely like a challenge, but like to find a middle ground. But so far, I've been pretty decent about it. We lost some money on our on our LA show. That's like I've been totally honest about that. We're sitting really well for Vegas, so that kind of helped bridge that gap. When we run these shows, we don't try to run them with like the money we have at the doors. So all we really care about is like what does it look like? Like we have to have this budget and we have to have the money for that budget before we even like announce the show. So we set a budget, we make sure we have that, and then we start going from there. And then basically, like as we sell tickets and we get these deposits for tickets, that's kind of like replenishing that money.
I mean, I don't think you guys post your shows on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we're a little behind on our stuff, so we're still waiting for we haven't even posted the full version of like the actual cut of Vegas. We only have the stream version of it.
Mm.
So we're gonna be posting that soon. I'm trying to get that up there before Vegas to get a full 4K or 8K version with our Sony cameras for Vegas. And then this show, the LA show, the the guy who's cutting the match is actually the owner of Pride Style for me. And like again, he helped me out, and he has a million things going on between planning two shows and a whole initiative and all this. Um, so he's just been busy. So we plan on uploading our main show to YouTube. Yes. Now this show for Vegas, we're probably gonna do it for YouTube, but there's this chance that we put some of it on like Wrestle Universe. And so we're kind of figuring out that because we do plan on putting the Miyu Watanabe and Maya match on up on TV for Wrestle Universe because it's a TJPW wrestler. So we have Miyu versus Speedball on there right now.
Yeah, that's kind of smart if you're gonna like you have a TGPW wrestler on your show, so putting it on Wrestle Universe, which is kind of popular for having like Joshi and other Japanese promotions that aren't NJPW on it. I think that's kind of smart. I mean, I was gonna ask you
Yes,
about
especially
filming.
now because now that match is it's an AEW wrestler versus a TJPW wrestler, so that's kind of cool.
I mean, yeah, that could get a lot of eyes on your show. I was gonna ask you about filming, but before asking you about filming and posting, I was just gonna point out something that Eric Stevens said that he took back now, But I think it's kind of important to mention now, since you're running a many weekend show, is like are filling out seats kind of hard now on indie shows, because after DBW closed out, rest in peace. Eric Stevens went out and said that like indie shows are kind of like they don't fill seats anymore, and that's not on the shows themselves, as opposed to it's on the fans not wanting to go to the shows and choosing to watch them online. So do you think that's like a big problem now, or you think it's fine, or it's not that big?
I think that's more of a state of the economy in America right now. With just everything going on, like kind of what I was talking about before is like, especially for families, like you have to convince people to leave their house and they have to spend $500 to come to your show or whatever, like even $80, and they have to come to the venue and they have to find parking and they might have to find a babysitter. Like there's a million different factors that sometimes it's just simply not worth going. Um, so there's more than just like, oh, people are burnt out on indie wrestling or oh whatever. Like there's a million different factors. But I mean, we had maybe like 100 people at our last show, and they were so loud and exciting. Like, and Jordan Castle did such a good job with like ring announcing that I would have like you would have thought there was 300 people in that venue. Um, so like the people that are coming are still excited and happy. I would like to say like, oh yeah, it's just because the industry's lower. That's why we only have 100 people at our show. But really, like this is our first show we've ran in a year, and most people probably don't know that we exist outside these Vegas shows. So it's more on us. I mean, House of Glory ran in LA like a week before, a couple weeks before us, and they had like a crazy amount of people in there. Like the venue was full. Um, so it's not really like necessarily it's situational. Like Winnipeg Pro Wrestling just sold 600 tickets in a day because like they had Mercedes Monet on their card. Like West Coast Pro's running a big show at outside of the Chase Stadium where like the Warriors play. So these things are happening. Like there are people selling tickets. You see all these consistent fans going to Action and Anarchy in places. Like it's just about building consistency and building a trust with a fan base that knows that they're gonna get one, they don't want to miss it. Two, they're gonna get their values worth like money wise, and three, just like you just never know what's gonna happen with outside factors. Like we had someone request a refund for 4 front row seats in Vegas because they had medical issues, and now they have to worry about medical like bills and everything like that. Like of course they're not gonna spend $300 on front row tickets.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of understandable. I mean, so I'm gonna ask you, like, do you think running like a show in a smaller venue with like where you can get like 100% of your seats bought and filled is better, or like running at a bigger venue when like you have more than 1,000 seats and like getting 500 seats filled is better? So smaller venue
It kind
that's
of
full. Mm.
a smaller venue always looks nicer, or like a small full venue looks nicer on camera. I mean, AEW learned that, like they're still running more than what like regular indies are running, but instead of having a 10,000 seat stadium with 5,000 seats being empty, like the place just looks nicer with a full 5,000, 6,000 people in the venue. Um, Live experience, it feels better too. You kind of forget that there's not that many people in there, but ultimately a lot of the times it just comes down to pricing. Like there's really nice venues that are only like 150 people that are more expensive than a nice venue with that's 300 people. So like the Don Quixote, the reason why so many people run there is because it's a really good value for your money, and it holds like 400 people. Now most people aren't filling it with 400 people. Isla Lucha does a really good job of like getting people there. And that's the same video we ran in LA just a couple weeks ago. But that's a better value than most venues in LA are, because LA is the entertainment capital of the world. So to rent like a venue is like $5,000 for every single place.
So yeah, non-related to you being a booker, but where do you think is like the best place for where's like the best place to run an indie show in America right now? Is it like Jersey? Is it LA?
I'm a little biased. Like I always have a great time with Portland. Portland's like hot crowds. Those are the shows I've been going to. But if I had to choose one, it would be the West Coast, just because like the last show I went down there was the what's it called? How the West was won is what it was called. The West Coast Pro Show, and it had Gabe Kidd on it. It had Willow, and how all these like big names on there. But the people that really got the crowd going and that were like the most like quote unquote over was like Johnny Robbie. It was 80K. It was all these local guys,
Mm.
and there was like 400 people, 450 people in that venue. The last time I'd been to that venue, I think there was maybe 300. This place was like full to capacity, and you get to see like all these people. Sorry, not it was. I just remember realizing it was not 80K. It was Young Men Dead. That's who it
Oh.
was. The other trios group for West Coast Pro. But the crowd's like hot for these like local guys like Starboy Charlie and Titus. Like they were more excited for those matches and more of a reaction than Gabe Kidd's match. Like and I think Gabe Kidd would even say that like that kind of stuff is like the crowd was it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life as far as like just being a part of that and being in that crowd and watching how many people got into it. Like Johnny Robbie versus Danny Luna is my favorite match I've ever seen live, and it was like half of it was just because the crowd was so into it. So
So,
biased, I will say San Francisco, but
mm,
I have been to shows in LA. I've been to one show in Jersey. The show in Jersey was awful, so I wouldn't really necessarily say that one. But ETU has a really good group of people that come in there all the time. Those are my friends over there, and they would probably say New Jersey. Pro Wrestling Junkies just ran that show or Junkies Cards. They ran that show like last weekend, and their show was like 4 hours long, and the crowd was still like up for it. So
I mean, you mentioned like hot crowds. Like people always say that the indies are dead, basically. After
mhm.
like in this decade, in the past 5 years or 6 years now, they say that the indies are dead. What do you think about that take?
No, I don't think that's true at all. I think there is a certain level of there's a it's easier to get signed now, but you're competing with a million more people. So like people, I like you'll see the WWID stuff that's coming out. Like there's a new group of people. Um,
Yeah,
they like
I've
are
heard
signing
some
people that have
names.
under yeah they have like signing people that have under 100 matches, and that's awesome for them. But if you look at it like the days of like these people being on the scene for 7 or 8 years and being known for that stuff before finally making it to like the quote unquote big leagues is happening less often. What we're getting is like a lot of guys getting signed to WWE really young and then coming out of it in their 30s or whatever and then being like I'm now $3,000, pay me. And so that's kind of insane to me, or AEW. Even it's not just a WWE issue, like if people get signed to AEW and then they're not getting booked on TV, so obviously they want to fill their time, they want to wrestle, and then they're going to the indies, and some of them are crazy expensive. And that's not to say like anything disrespectful to anybody. Like if they're being able to be paid for that stuff, that's awesome. But as far as like a promoter trying to look for their best value, sometimes it's like, okay, well, this person's really popular, but will they sell $3,000 worth of tickets? Are they worth $4,000 with flights and stuff like that? So there's a uh, there is some truth, I think, to the indies are dead kind of thing, just mostly in the sense of like the environment is so different. But again, you still have these shows like you have these people coming like 400, 500 people filling out these venues to come watch their like local wrestlers and have the biggest reaction to them. The show that runs like in where I live in Eugene, they're POW Pro Wrestling, and they do like zero fly-ins, and they probably have 300 people there every single show, and it's some of the most fun I ever have had like at live events. And I bet you would know maybe one of the names on the card. So it's it's not dead. It's just more. It's going back to more like local, like um, regional wrestling is like what the term is. But you still have places like West Coast Pro and like Defy bringing out these like big names as far as like fly-ins go, but they're mostly still centered around their guys. So they can have a Gabe Kidd on their card, they can have a Willow on their card, but ultimately the main event's going to be Vinny Massar versus Kevin Blackwood because those are their guys.
Uh, I mean, I don't want you to shoot, but do you think it's better now that bigger promotions are signing like guys that just like you said that haven't had 100 matches yet, or do you think it's like kind of
I
now?
genuinely don't think there's a wrong opinion to have on it. I get the hesitation. I get like, especially as like a promoter, like you're kind of afraid to invest in like a 22-year-old kid because they might get signed within the next 6 months. Like shout out to Maya. Maya's like 23 years old. She's traveled more of the world than I have, and she's signed to AEW. Like, um, but like, would I ever be like upset that someone like it's funny because originally she was on my card for January or for February 22nd, and then she was going to work a different indie that's more local to her, and then she ended up working mine because even though she got signed to AEW, so it kind of worked out that way. But like, yeah, it kind of sucks if like this person you booked on your in thing have plans like now has to work like TV tapings in Jacksonville. But like, I'm never gonna be the type of person to be like, that's bad or that's wrong. Like, I want people to get paid. I want people to be happy. I want people to be able to say they did their dream. Um, I'm just never gonna be the type to like whine or be upset about other people being successful or whatever because realistically like I would care more about someone on an individual level and like fulfilling the thing even if I don't know them than I would about this like hypothetical like scene that's being ruined by it. Like, we're talking about real
Mm,
people, so
yeah. I mean, I don't want to come off as an asshole. I love when people get signed and get paid. I mean, especially if they get paid and still can work great matches. That's really awesome.
Mhm.
Even if they're not on
I
TV.
think that I think that fans are allowed to be sad if like the wrestler that is at their local promotion can no longer work that local promotion. Like that's a very reasonable take.
Mm.
I don't really like getting mad about it or like getting mad at the wrestler about following their dream for signing a WWE ID contract or whatever. Like I hate that kind of stuff. But you're allowed to be like, yeah, it sucks that this person is now being pulled away from this promotion that I watch because this other bigger company like signed them too early or whatever.
I mean, yeah, just like you said, like I get if people are mad that local wrestlers like aren't gonna work in their local promotion, but again, I just want to say that I'm actually happy whenever a wrestler gets signed. I mean, especially if they're not being showcased on TV and they can still work the indies and they can still wrestle. I think that that's really awesome, and that kind of tells you that this wrestler likes to wrestle. They're not in it just
Yeah,
for the money. And even if they're in
the
it for
one
the
of the
money, it's fine.
exactly, yeah, like I'm like I'm not gonna be mad that someone got paid. Now I obviously like when I have the option to be able to choose whether or not I pay a $3,000 wrestler that used to work in WWE, I can decline that option. Like other promoters can too, or they can negotiate. Um, but like my experience is also like I will say like the first wrestler that's ever like truly vouched for me, and like one of the main reasons why I even have this position that I'm in is because Rin Sinclair, I made a graphic for her through a mutual friend. I made like an 8x12 for her, and she made offhand remark like, "You should do this professionally." And then I was like, "Oh, I've never done that. Is there like a marker for that?" And she's like, "Yeah, wrestlers always want graphic designers." And this is obviously like right before AI really blew up. But so I just started commissioning graphics and stuff. I got the attention of Nigel McGuinness, interviewed him. Off of his interview, I was able to interview Lee Moriarty. Then I was able to get a job with Body Slam. Got to go to a bunch of these AW shows. Still doing graphic design. That's how Pandemonium saw my stuff. I've gotten to do a poster for a show in Japan. Used to do stuff for Singapore Pro Wrestling. Like all that is just because Maddie Rinkowski, Rin Sinclair was like, "You should do this professionally," and I was like, "Maybe I should." So watching her she almost got signed to AEW, didn't work out, and then like a year later, she was signed to WWE, and now she's on TV everywhere, absolutely killing it. So, um, just because I don't watch WWE, I'm not gonna be like she should have kept making $300 on a match on the Indies. Like, no, I want her to be going viral on Twitter every other week because she's so charismatic. Like, and we're not even like personal friends, like I would consider her like we're friendly or whatever, like a Twitter friend, but I'm like so proud of her and so happy for her. So I don't even watch WWE. So I'm like I don't care about like what's going on in that system, but I'm happy that she's on TV every week.
So let's get back to your show on
Yeah,
whatever forever. So what's kind of like the most match you're excited for on the show? I mean, it's a stack of
I mean
cards, so you can say any match.
it's definitely Danny versus Sobrano Jr. Like I said, we wanted Sobrano Jr. last year. This kind of feels like a full circle thing. Danny's a good friend of mine, though he'd never admit it. He's me and him trash talk each other on Twitter all the time. But that's one of the reasons why I picked him for the matches because I was just like, I trust him with this big match. Personally, I'm very excited for the 3-on-3. Well, I have two 3-on-3s, but the Spencer Scott one with Valor and Grayson versus Calvis and Mexi Boys. Like that's like probably Spencer's biggest match, I would say, besides maybe some of these Roseland ones. So I'm really excited to be able to watch him. Grayson and Valor are two guys that I know through Robert Anthony Ego, who runs Ego Pro, who's actually running literally right now. So I got in touch with them through him. They reached out and were like, "Hey, we want to come out." So I found a spot for them. That match I think is gonna. They kind of have the most to gain, I think, from the card because plenty of people know who C4 are. A lot of people know who at least Jay Bougie is from ETU. Ginny Underwood, like those are a little more like indie names, but especially C4, Defy guys, Prestige guys, like. But Spencer is part of it, like one half of a tag team that has been super popular here, but not like on an individual level. And then Val and Grayson are both like really young kids, so to be able to give them a big spotlight against like three of the best like indie luchador guys that are available, I'm like very very excited to watch them be able to like show that they are just as good as those guys.
I don't know if I asked this before, but is booking a Mania weekend show any different than booking like a normal show?
Crazy different. You have such a crazy amount of talent at your disposal. Like I mean, I'm quite literally turning away wrestlers that I've like been a fan of for years because I just don't have the space for it. Like, if I could run 3 shows over 3 days, I would. Like, if I had the budget for it, because there's so many people I want to give a job to, and people I just like I want to showcase. So when I was building this card, I was like, how many people can I realistically put on 3-on-3 cards? 3-on-3 matches is not ideal for a card, but when you have that much talent at your disposal, it's like, come on, like what am I? I'm gonna not run that. So I have Alexis Lee coming in from Singapore. I'm like, I want her. But like, there's a lot of people that I wish I could book on this card. Some of the Pacific Northwest guys, a bunch of the people from the East Coast. So like, I would say like, if I could, I would like, if there was no like taboo thing about running a 5-hour show and people wouldn't be exhausted and I could just do it without getting any flack, I would have a 5-hour show and half of that card would be people from Texas.
That sounds very biased. Uh,
Listen, I'm not even from there. I'm from Oregon. I just love so many of their talents. Like we had Jack Calloway. Like I almost had him on the card. I couldn't find a spot for him, and I like still am like, can I find something? And then it didn't make sense. I didn't necessarily want to do 11 matches, but we had a really good opportunity to do this, and I was like, this just makes sense. I know the people that are running after us, so um, it's very hard time wise to make sure that you're doing the right thing. But I got to a point where I was at 10 matches, and I was like, everyone's already making fun of me for having 10 matches on my card. What more can they say about 11 matches? So I'm just going to do it.
so I'm gonna give you like you have like as many minutes as you want to promote your show and convince people to buy a ticket to Pandemonium Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling show on Wednesday on many weekend. So yeah, say whatever you want. Convince people to come to
Yeah,
the
it's
show.
April 15th at 3 p.m. We're running a card that has, I would say, the level of talent that we have is completely unlike anything you've ever seen. You see a lot of these collective type shows. You see a lot of these mini week type shows that have these crazy big matches. We have wrestlers from CMLL. We have wrestlers from Japan, wrestlers from multiple companies, different big areas of America. We have an East Coast versus West Coast 3-on-3. We have Robert Martyr on the card. We have Danny O'Ryan on the card. Soberano Jr., Shimbashi, Jocelyn Navarro, Alexis Lee, like all these awesome names. And you could see them for quite literally like $71 was front row, and there's two of those available because I just did a refund today. And then it's like $60 for second row. So the value that you're getting with the names, I think, is better than pretty much anything anybody else can offer outside of maybe that new initiative, because you're getting all of that for a really good deal. So, and it's not just my show, to be honest. Like, as much as I want to talk about my show and promote it, giving any of these companies a chance to like show what they can do for you and showcase the talent that they have and how much effort and like love and care went into this. And like, we talked about the indie scene and how people consider it dead or whatever. The main point of this is to kind of like push against that a little bit. So there's like 7 cards on the show that are completely different than each other. And every booker put so much effort and work into it. And they all deserve your like support and want to earn it. So I just hope that people tune into like literally any one of these shows. I would be thrilled.
I mean, since people are, I mean, the whole point of Mania weekend for the Indies is so they can promote themselves to people that are coming to WrestleMania.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, it's not just me. I think most of our listeners are gonna have like some friends going to Mania, and some of them are actually gonna
Hmm.
go to WrestleMania. So, uh, if you could like c- say anything to them that will like. Make them decide to go to a show on Shooting Star Fest, not just your show.
Hmm.
Uh, you can try to convince them and tell them how cool are the Indies.
Yeah, I have a friend that goes to WrestleMania every single year. Or at least he buys tickets every year. Sometimes he decides not to go, but he'll resell them, whatever. He has never gone to an indie wrestling show. So I don't know how convinced I'm going to be if I can't convince one of my real life friends to come to a show. But it's sounding like he's going to come to my show. So I just really think like even if you want to be like, this is what I tell people. Even on like an individual level, if you can tell someone that you know that someone you're watching in WWE, you can say, I watched that person 7 years ago at this indie show. That's a cool story to be able to tell people. And I swear that is like justification enough to just give people more of a chance because like everybody wants to have that cool insider, like know it all kind of level, you know? So let this week be the week that you decide to do it. When we see Jocelyn Navarro in NXT or AW, like how cool will it be to be like, yeah, I was one of the first like big supporters of her, or I got to see her, do this crazy match during WrestleMania week. Um, it is just a fun thing to tell people, and kind of brag about. But I also just think like not with WWE, it's a very specific type of product you're getting, and that's not to say anything even like bad about it. But with indie shows, like you're getting way more of a personal level, and like a connection with it that I just don't think people fully understand until they actually go to these shows, like what it means.
I mean, I'm gonna say I mean, as a fan standpoint, if
Mhm.
people want to go to a couple of shows on Mania weekend, I think that the new initiative, like Action, Pride Style, New Texas, Anarchy, and West Coast, I think that if it's their first time ever going to an indie show, I think that will be like that pass they're giving out for like I think it's $170, right?
Yeah, yeah, because the price went up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be very good if they're gonna like go to an indie show because each one of these promotions are kind of different from each other and they each book their shows. I mean, so far, in a
Yeah.
different way from each other. So I think that you could get like an aspect on what the indies look like. Like in New Texas, you get
Yeah.
like great talents that are very young but also have I mean sky's the limit for them. In Anarchy, you will get like technically, I mean, you literally get Anarchy. On West Coast, you would get like a couple of big names. I mean, not just a couple of big names. The West Coast show is fucking
Even if you're
insane.
if you're specifically just a Joshi fan,
Mm.
West Coast Pro has Mio Momono and Aja Kong and I can't remember who else they just announced, but they have all these big Joshi names, and yeah, they have some men's matches maybe you don't care for, but it gives you a chance to Senka, that's who I was thinking of.
Mm.
It gives you a chance to be able to see these like Joshi matches that you really want to see, um, and Johnny Robbie and stuff, but you can kind of like get a chance to kind of test the waters a little bit and see what you do like. Like the biggest thing I can say is like you just don't know until you experience it. And that's like the best advice I could give because like I said, I went to a show in 2019, had never been to an indie show before, and it like quite literally changed my life. And then going to the first my first Roseland or Prestige show was Roseland 3. And that was because I went up there for Yamashita and Maki Ito, and I ended up falling in love with like uh Bandito on that show. It was Bandito versus Alex Shelley, which is still one of my favorite matches I've ever seen. And obviously, I was also a massive, massive Motor City Machine Guns mark, but I had never really seen a lot of Alex Shelley singles matches, so that was like a whole other life changing experience for me as well. This if I hadn't just like decided to travel 2 hours to go to some big super indie show.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you've definitely been to more indie shows than I have, so you know, like how
Convenience, yeah.
yeah, how great the vibes of an indie show are.
Exactly. Like,
Mm.
I think that we're the show that's in my town in like a week or 2 weeks is that POW show. And again, no fly-ins, it's all local. We've convinced like five of my real life coworkers who have never been to wrestling before to come to the show and experience it. And I think that even just going to one of these shows is such a different experience than a basketball game or a big WWE show or whatever. These little intimate venues. I think you will have fun, especially if it's your first time, no matter what. You could kind of become jaded as you go to a lot of these shows, but I think the first experience of going to an indie show is usually pretty good for people. So I would just say like just trust and faith and I promise you'll have fun. Even if it's not our collective, right? If see what the cheapest ticket that fits your time frame is and go to that show. I don't care if it's an FSW show or a GCW show, like just go and see if you like it.
Uh, I mean, no. Go to Pandemonium Pro. Go to Shooting Star Fest. No, I'm here just to promote your guys' show because it's really insane, insane. I mean, from a fan standpoint, I mean, I've been an indie fan for a couple of years now. I won't say that I'm a huge indie. I mean, I'm a huge indie mark, but I haven't been very long, in being an indie mark. So having to watch all these talents that are gonna work like almost most of the shows, not just Shooting Star Fest shows, but having to see like so many great talents against other great talents on multiple cards that are very stacked. It's definitely it's gonna be an experience. This is my third mini weekend, and I mean, watching from home, I'm just gonna try to watch as many shows as possible because this many weekend is looking out to be great. Again, having an alternative, having multiple groups, multiple shows, multiple collectives, not just GCW's collective or the other collective that House of Glory is running. I think having multiple let's say groups of shows to watch. I think that's gonna be good. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
again, I'm a huge action wrestling mark. I'm a huge New Texas mark. I'm a huge Marvelous mark. So uh, having all these shows coming along together, all these promotions coming along together on one show to promote their cards it's gonna be good. Yeah, it's Shooting Starfest is gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree. I one thing that's nice about running a Wednesday night is I get to get there. So I'm staying with my friends during most of it. I'm getting there. I've got a hotel for the first night because I figured they have a newborn baby. I'm gonna be in and out of the house. I'm gonna be a nervous wreck. So I got a hotel just to kind of like be able to have my own space for the first night I'm there. But really, like once my show's over and I help out with this next one, I kind of just get to experience the rest of it as a fan. Obviously, I'm willing to like help out if anybody needs anything or anything, but most of them have it covered. They've been running longer than me. So I'm just as a fan, like I'm so excited. Like I am like I can't believe I get to watch Miko versus Aja Kong. Like I'm so excited for that. Senko had the best match of the whole weekend last year. So to have her have another big match, like these are just things that I'm as a fan like so excited for. Like I get to watch a full Marvelous show again. That's amazing.
I mean, yeah, that's gonna be insane. Is there anything else that we want to talk about Shooting Starfest?
Oh, I think we kind of covered everything. I mean, I definitely talked about myself enough.
I mean, it's fine if you want to talk about yourself more. You're good at booking shows.
The
You're very good at
Pride
booking
Style
shows.
Pride Style has Miyu Watanabe on their card. She's facing a person, Tania, that's from Vegas. She's a Vegas-based person. That match is going to be incredible. Definitely recommend going to check them out. They are awesome. If you look at the new Texas show, they have incredible stuff. Maya World is on there, big AEW superstar. I like to make fun of her for it. She's coming down from her ivory tower of the super company to bless us with her time and her presence. So if you haven't checked out Maya World, she's one of the best wrestlers in the world. And she is going to be someone that you want to go out of your way to watch.
I mean, yeah, I think we basically covered everything. Again, Robert Martyr, if you're ever hearing this, I'm gonna beat your ass one day in the ring, of course. Uh, so thank you, Hart, for coming on the show because
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I genuinely appreciate it. So
I mean, yeah, this is great. I mean, having like such a. I mean, you said that it's your first or second full card that you booked, but booking such a good card with such little experience is insane. I mean, and again,
Thank you.
not only like, I mean, yeah, fans make good wrestlers, but also fans make good bookers. So, as a fan, I think.
Sometimes.
I mean, sometimes, yeah,
Listen,
not all the time.
before we go, I will say there's a certain level of person who runs a show that wants to be friends with wrestlers, and they want to, like, they obviously take care of them. They want them to have a good time on the show, but they care less about the fans and making money and actually running a business. And they just want to be able to say, like, I went out, I got to hang out with these people and run this show with these people. And I think there's a good middle ground to be had. Like, I'm very honored and blessed to have so many friends on my card. But at the very least, I was friends with most of these people before I ever started booking.
I mean, and even when you started booking, you were booking very good matches. I mean, come on, Sabrina Jr. versus Danny Orion, dude.
Yep, yep.
So yeah, it's really great to have you on here, and yeah. So I hope that our fans liked this episode. Of course, I'm gonna link Pandemonium Wrestling and Hart Editing's accounts all down below if you want to check them out. I'm gonna also. If you're watching on YouTube, we're gonna put like the Shooting Star Fest's flyer on. If you want to go on any of the shows, I think most of them are gonna be on Independent Wrestling TV, IWTV. So check them out if you're watching from home. Use whatever code you want to use. If you have any specific code for IWTV that you want to shout out, even if it's not now yours.
No,
Okay.
I think no, I'm good.
Okay, I'm gonna shoot. I'm gonna shout out Action because I have some friends in Action Wrestling. So use code Action
Yeah.
if you want to subscribe to IWTV. So thank you, Hart. Thank you for all the people listening. We hope you had a fun time. Don't forget to like and subscribe because we're gonna have other bookers on here over the next few weeks. So check that out. يعطيكم العافية على المشاهدة. اعذرونا ان طولنا عليكم. اتمنى انكم استمتعتوا. تحت في الوصف راح احط لكم روابط حسابات هارت وبرضه حسابات باندامونيوم رسلينج. روحوا لهم ضيفوهم شيكوا عليهم شغلهم مرة رهيب. وبرضه اذا انتم تتابعون من اليوتيوب طبعا حاطين البوستر حق شوتينج ستار فيست اذا حابين انكم تشيكون عليه. غالبية العروض راح تكون موجودة على اي دبليو تي في. اذا بتشتركون باي دبليو تي في استخدموا كود اكشن. لا تنسوا اللايك والاشتراك. يعطيكم العافية على المشاهدة.